Hello, everybody. It's me again. This is part two of the series. Just doing short form videos at the moment, talking about certain topics that I find kind of disturbing and kind of odd in the warehouse industry. For instance, safety. Let's talk about safety for a second in warehousing. Um, the company I was working at, safety was not the highest priority. The safety slash trainer would bring things up to management and they were outright ignored, such as having your cell phones on your lift, listening to music, watching videos, having earbuds in, or having speakers on your lift. And these are reach lifts. So, they're going in and out of aisles, going, 5 or 6 stories in the air, not paying attention to what they're doing, carrying about 3 to 5,000 pound pallets and bumping into things, hitting things. For instance, where I was working at the time, they had bins. And if you've ever been to a warehouse, those things are flimsy. And 9 out of 10 times they're only being held by about 4 bolts into the ground, and that's if you're really lucky, if they've been somewhat maintained over the years. The ones at my building, the welds were splitting on these bin systems, and you would put a pallet and you would see it crunch down, and that was always an issue and a safety concern. Or if you would put a pallet in a bin, the bin would start to sway back and forth a little bit depending where you place the pallet. And you didn't have to place it hard, like shove it in there or anything like that. You just sitting it normally. Or you would have people hitting each other in the main drive aisles, going 9 to 8 miles per hour, depending how their crown reach lifts were governed. Or you'd have people with their forks extended out, ramming into the bins or into the bollards in front of the bins. And it was just such a crazy time to be working there at that point. And then you try to bring up things to management saying, hey, this bin is, yada yada. And they go, well, we'll get to it eventually. Or maintenance would buy, it'd be fine. Or just even trying to find maintenance was a struggle. You would call for them. You would have a lift that broke down in the middle of an aisle, and they wouldn't answer the radios, wouldn't answer phone calls, wouldn't answer, the overhead speaker system, the intercoms. They wouldn't answer them. And you'd have to wait maybe an hour or two even just for them to drive by and let them know what happened. At my building, a lot of the issues we had were with bins, forklift drivers, and dock doors, such as the pit bull system, which if you're not familiar, it hooks up to the back bumper of a trailer. I had 7 doors where I was working at before I was let go, that the pit bulls weren't connecting to the trailers and the dock plates weren't actually landing on the back of the trailers. And you'd have to reach over the pole and put your hand in a pinch zone just to pull it up, and they just told you had to do that. Or you would have to stomp on the plate to get the plate to go down, then let the airbag deflate and lower the dock plate. Or going into truck trailers that the cross members at the bottom of the trailer, the floors are broken, and reporting that, and you just got told you had to do it. So, it's pretty crazy how loose safety is in a lot of warehousing, and that the simple fact that OSHA wasn't really a worry for these companies. For where I worked at, I was told that they were being paid off. I think probably a rumor, so it's either here or there. But considering that, safety was never really a major thing that was on management's mind, and that they just didn't care unless they overreacted, and they would fire people for small things like not wearing your safety glasses. They would fire people for that. But if you hit a bin, they would just, there's no property damage, and just walk away, and that was it. But safety was either underreaction or overreaction, and it was just kind of a sad thing. And I just wish that warehousing would have a little bit closer look. The government would have a closer look at the warehousing industry and distribution, and seeing that the conditions that some of these buildings are in, such as a roof's leaking, having water all over the floor, or dot plates and the seals are not correct on them. They're broken and busted and hanging down. Or you'd have racks or bins that look like they're fixing to collapse if you put a pallet on them. Or just having walkways not even painted, and it was just a major headache with that. But working 6 years in that building kind of opened my eyes, going like, this isn't normal when it comes to management style. And I'm not saying all managers are like this, but at that building, from my perspective, the managers and the supervisors were more worried about taking walks outside the campus, outside the buildings, to have competitions to see how many steps they can get in a day. Or they'd be too busy on their cell phones watching sporting events like football or baseball instead of walking through the warehouse making sure that everyone was working safe. Then they'd have the safety guy. The building I was in was really large, and we expanded to a second building on the other side of our campus, and they were making him walk because they didn't want to let him have access to a golf cart so he could get to and fro to make sure he could check fire extinguishers, check lifts, make sure the PIT data plates were there. And it's just really sad how bad the safety, the quality of work, of your work situation was degrading so bad at this flooring company. And that the crew lead that I worked under, he was more worried about being non-confrontational, but he would pick and choose who to talk to, and he would usually only talk to the one guy that was working his butt off versus the guy that was sitting next to him on his cell phone all day, or with him and his best buddy talking to him about PCs and gaming. And it was just a really bad experience where I worked at. I only toughed it out for 6 years because of the paychecks. And when they let me go, it was just, it was just insane. But, I mean, I really wish that, that the working conditions and a lot of warehouse employees would become better, or distribution workers would have a little bit of an easier time, because without them, we wouldn't have hardly anything in the stores or trucks to be loaded and unloaded. And it's just a sad state of affairs. But this is part 2 of the Southern Warehouse Worker Confessions. I hope you like and subscribe. Let me know what I can do to improve, or if I can answer any questions. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions about distribution and logistics and my 6.5 years to almost 7 years of working experience in the flooring industry.